Hi guys, welcome back for day 26. This is really getting towards the end now. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be building out our kind of final tool that's going to top off this process. We're going to be looking at the pricing calculator and how to put that together. It's quite a simple tool. It helps you establish your budgets for each and every project. And beyond that, it helps you kind of get in front of your cash flow. So if you can stay on top of the cash that's coming into your business, it's really going to benefit you when you're managing the cash actually once it's arrived. So by getting your pricing right up front, you're going to find your cash flow a lot easier to manage. So we'll get onto that in a second. But obviously, the first thing what I do every day is we're going to follow the 5 steps to kind of check off our bank statements and make sure everything is allocated in and out where it needs to be. So I've got our 2 transactions from today's date, the 26th, and they are £45 for fuel and £50 for plants. So that's £50 coming off of your materials budget and 45 coming off of your expenses budget. So let's get that in there. 45. And then that's off the materials. And obviously we've got the, I believe it's 50. It's been nice and slow today already, which is no good. So we've got 50 off of plants and 45 off of fuel. So let's get back to that. And then on expenses, we've got the 45. It's important to try and do this every day or at least every week, because then you've got an accurate figure to kind of run your business off each and every day. So it's a really good habit to get into. So those expenses are checked off. We don't have to remove out any income today because we've not had any. But if you would, obviously you put your income in here just for whatever reason, and then that help you divide that up into the totals that you needed, and then from there you need to readjust all your your income as well in the various spreadsheets, the various individual budget pots, and then we need to obviously put the last date that we dealt with as today, so make sure that goes in as it needs to, and then that's that bit done for today. You can see here the spreadsheet's looking really, really helpful. You've got your targets here that you're working towards. You've got your current daily margins that you've got. And then from there, what we're looking at doing is just gradually improving those as we discussed yesterday. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to build out the final sheet of our cash flow process, and that is our pricing calculator. So what you want to do, pricing calculator, how's my spelling? That's fine. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to incorporate this into our workflows. Okay, so it's a good idea in your sheets here down at the bottom is to have the pricing calculator sort of early on, probably after your margin calculator, just so you know that it's there when you need it. You're not always searching for it, because it's going to be a really key part of your cash flow kind of financial business experience, your business's experience of its finances. So if your pricing is right up front, you'll find everything else kind of very easily falls into place. But there's a few things that we need to do to set up calculator, set up exactly what it is that we're going after. So what we need to do is obviously we need to take the total price that you've quoted for a job, and we need to split that down into the relevant budgets according to your current margins. And what you can do with this information is you can double check that the figures that it's giving you are suitable for the price that you've submitted. If your materials margin is 40%, then you need to make sure that your materials margin or the materials amount that you've built into your price is covered by that 40%. So the easiest way to do that is you take the total price and you insert that into a little box here. Again, let's put a little circle around that box so we know what we're dealing with. Again, you can see that I'm a massive fan of the red box. It just really highlights what's important. So total price in there. So this is where you'd enter, the total price that you charged, whatever. And then from there, what we're doing is we're looking at the budget categories for each of the job, which is just our standard materials, VAT, profit, owner's pay, tax, expenses, wages. Cool. Just make sure that's okay. And then what we're looking for here is we are looking to split that down into the relevant margins for each category. So what we need to do is we need to make this total here. So let's just say for ease, let's just say it was 10,000. And what we're trying to see here is the total budget for the project for that category. So project budget total. Okay, and then what that's going to give us is the total price here, 10,000, the total price divided by each of these relevant budgets according to your current margins. And we need to do that. We need to insert a couple of formulas to really help us do that. So what we need to do is write the equal sign. We're going to take the total amount that you put in your price, and we're going to times that by the income sheet. So click the times symbol, and then you need to click the income sheet. And then we need to click the margin that we're currently on for that category. Easy as that. And then what we need to do is obviously format these into money so we can see a bit clearer what it is that we're dealing with. So we want British pound sterling, boom. And then what we're doing effectively is filling that across the totals. So we need to go dollar. Again, put the dollars in front of them. It means it doesn't change when you drag them down. And then autofill this across the categories. And then what that gives you is the budgets that you're trying to stick to in each of the categories. Okay, so you're looking for a £10,000 project according to our current margins. You're looking for £3,269 for materials, £800 put aside for VAT, £260 for profit, £2,000 for you, £455 for your personal tax bill, and then you're looking at expenses of £1,800 and wages of £1,200. So that's where you're looking to split down according to these companies' kind of false, fake margins or whatever it is. So what you need to do is just add another double check of the totals to make sure they add up to what they need to, which they do, which is exactly right. Total. And let's just put a little line above this so we know that it's separate. Let's make it black this time. There we go. And yeah, and those are the budgets that your company really needs to operate on. So if you're trying to control your cash flow of your company by dividing your income into various pots for use as you need to, the best way to make that as easy as possible is to price up according to your margins. So whatever your margins are, if you've set that much aside for each project, if you set the right amount aside for each project, then what you're going to find is the cash flow coming into your budget, coming into your business, is going to be much easier to split up according to your margins because that's how you've priced it up. So what this does, it helps you price up your jobs according to the numbers that you need to price up for. So for example, if your wages margin was higher than this company's here, so your price for you, in order for you to take home the same amount, your price will probably need to go up a little bit to cover your wages. But this is all completely dependent on the work that we've been doing within the last sort of 25 days. So this is kind of the way to get that cash flow sorted up front. So by pricing up correctly, you'll find the money into your business is much easier to keep on top of because you've already set that aside for specific purposes. So there are a couple of things to do to check that these numbers are accurate and to check that your price is correct. For example, if you want to, before you submit your quote, you run it through this calculator as like a double check, and it throws out £3,269 for materials. But actually, when you sit down and work it all out and you itemize what the materials are going to cost you, you see that actually the materials themselves are going to cost sort of £3,750, whatever. What you need to do is then adjust that price to cover that £3,750, because if you don't, the extra £500 that's going to be in there, it's going to have to come out somewhere. There's no more money coming in than there's less money coming in that's going out according to these budgets. So the only place this is really going to come out of are these profit and owners pay pots, and those are the ones that are coming out of your pocket. So by failing to integrate or failing to build in that extra £500 for materials into your price, the only person that's costing money is you. At the end of the day, you need to avoid that where possible. Your aim is to make as much money for yourself and keep as much money for yourself on any given project. So you need to make sure that any extra expenses are taken into account in terms of your price. So if we're looking for an extra £500 on top of materials, we might have to build, we might have to price up 11,500 rather than 10,000. And then you'll see that the materials price there is exactly what you need it to be. So you've actually, if you go ahead and submit this quote, the extra £1,500, if you didn't charge that, the chances are that you're leaving money on the table when actually you need that, according to your margins, to appropriately break down that total price you're charging to fit within your company's margins. Okay, so you'll find as you adjust your margins and as you make your margins better and better and more competitive, the price is going to have to go up slightly. But as you grow and as your company gets more efficient and as you provide more experience, a better service, your prices should, in theory, be going up little by little because you're getting better. You're getting more effective as a business. Your projects that you're offering are better. You're just getting better and better at what you're doing. So your prices should reflect that. And what this does is as your company grows, as it becomes a more efficient money-making machine, your pricing is going to have to keep up with that. Otherwise, you're just going to be charging yourself out at a rate that just isn't enough to cover what you need it to cover. So once the materials are checked off, what we need to do is the final two checks is obviously just check that the money in the owner's pay pot is enough for you. That sits right with you and that's going to be enough for you. And then we need to check the expenses and the wages. So expenses are things like fuel. So itemize all the fuel out, itemize any plant or grab hire that you need, any tool hire, and general expenses that you're going to need within the projects that don't come under as a material spend. So have a look at the expenses, make sure they cover it. And if they do, fantastic. If they don't, adjust it slightly. And same with the wages. You know how many days a project's going to take. And you know how much your daily wage bill. I hope you know how much your daily wage bill is. So work that out. Work out how many days you think it's going to take, and just make sure this amount covers the wage bill that you think it's going to need to cover. And again, if it doesn't, you might just have to adjust it slightly according to your needs. But that's effectively it. This calculator acts as a pricing point and a pricing help and a double check for your pricing, just to make sure that you are submitting a price that you're happy with and you're confident with. And then once you've priced up, your job is then, to win that job from the client based on the price you've submitted. So that's a lot of the job. At the best of times is, convincing a client that you're the best person to deal with and helping them trust you with their garden and helping. Excuse me, my cat just got in front of my laptop. That was very, very frustrating. So it's your job, once this price is submitted, it's your job to do what you can to convince the client to trust you and win the job effectively. So as you can get more effective at winning jobs, it's only fair that your price will creep up ever so slightly until you're winning jobs at a rate that covers all of your overheads, all of your expenses, and leaves as much left in the pot as possible for you. So if you look here, this company is operating quite efficiently. So for an £11,500 job, there's actually £2,500 there for the company owner, director to keep for themselves, which is exactly where you want to be. You want to be creeping this amount up. You want to be obviously reducing your expenses, your wages as much as you can. And then further down the line, if you want to start adjusting materials, you can do. But I recommend doing that last. Materials is completely dependent on merchants, and it's difficult to play around with your margins there because you're kind of at the mercy of your supplier. Really, you're dependent on their prices. There's nothing you can really do about that. So if you want to reduce your margin, say for example, you use one exclusive supplier, probably isn't the best practice really, but if you use one exclusive supplier and you get a 10% discount because you've been with them for 2 years or whatever, then you could perhaps look at your materials and bring that down a little bit. But be careful with that. I'd probably say reduce that and change the materials margin as late as you possibly can. So do everything else first, make sure everything else is falling into place. Make sure your prices are constantly getting better, your expenses are constantly getting lower, and then adjusting the margins here. Up here, you will see the reflection in your pricing calculator. So let's take, for example, our owners pay $2,493. If we adjust that to say around 22, like a 22 whatever percent, I'll just reduce expenses because we've got to. You'll see that's gone from 2,400 to 2,600, which is just a 1% swing. It's going to be significant from project to project. and your expenses will have gone down 1%. So maybe you just need to adjust your prices by a little bit just to cover the expenses bill that you're going to get. And all that does, it just ensures that your pricing is creeping up as you need it to cover the expenses that you need it to cover. And then your owner's pay there will be increasing ever so slightly from project to project, because ultimately that's what you want to do. You want to make sure you're keeping as much money for yourself on any given project. And the way you do that is by really, really like commanding as good a price as you can possibly get, and then also reducing expenses and wages so these numbers don't have to be quite as high. So if these numbers aren't as high, then obviously your total price doesn't have to be as high. But as long as you're keeping the maximum amount of money for yourself, you're going to find yourself running a happier, healthier, more productive business that's really helping you, live the life that you want to live. So ultimately, that's it. This pricing calculator is the tool that helps the rest of the cash flow slot into place by having your pricing right up front. And this is going to be, you're going to find that's a real massive benefit if you start using this within your project. So whatever pricing method you're using now is absolutely fine. You've got to where you are now based on your pricing method. And I wouldn't start questioning that now, just to kind of fit into these margins. These margins act as like a double check. They're like your last thing that you do before you submit that price to make sure you haven't missed anything and to make sure your numbers fit within your margins. So run the price through that you're thinking of charging. Say if you price it for 11,000, run that through, make sure everything adds up. And if it doesn't, just adjust it slightly until it actually is reflecting numbers that you need it to reflect. And once you've done that, you'll find the money coming into your business much easier to stay on top of. So once you've got this set up, I would start using it immediately. Start using it from your very next project and just see how the numbers add up, how the numbers fit in. And I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised. They're pretty much where you need them to be already. And your pricing will be very closely based on what you've done over the last 12 months, because once you take that 12 months of data, you've got a very reliable kind of spread of information across a good amount of time that you're going to get yourself some very accurate margins. So plug this in, create the sheet for you, and start using it almost immediately. And then when you adjust it, when you're adjusting these margins as and when you can, this will then be instantly reflected in that pricing calculator. So you can see exactly what your margins need to be and what you need to charge in order to make a decent amount of profit for yourself. Okay, so any questions, as always, just give me a shout. This is now getting to a point where it's actually very complicated. There's a lot of things going on here. There's targets to hit. There's a pricing calculator to build and stay on top of. And there's also the issue of, if your prices are going up, what's to stop you turning away or jobs turning you away because your pricing is going up. I get that that's a constant worry. I understand where you're coming from. Raising prices is a massive concern to any small business owner. You don't want to feel the concern that if you're putting a more expensive price in, that you're going to start losing jobs, because at the end of the day, they are the livelihood of your business, and you don't want to be turning jobs away. So I understand that this can be quite a daunting concept, but effectively, this is the most streamlined, simple way that I found to really get hold of your financials and start building a business in a really efficient and sustainable way. But I understand that you want to win as many jobs as you can, and the easiest way to kind of do that is to submit, the lowest price that you can get away with. So I understand that, and if you'd like a little bit of help and guidance with this process, and we offer like a fully managed service. We can take care of all this for you. We use slightly more advanced pieces of software. We have weekly meetings, we have monthly meetings, we can go over any specific questions that you have, and then we work with you to adjust these margins. So we make sure that the margins are operating as efficiently as possible. We don't adjust them too quickly, and we help you get on top of your cash flow, and we fully manage it for you. So all you end up with is the 7 numbers, the running totals that you can easily access. These totals here, you can see those numbers at any given time. And if you are concerned with changing your margins for yourself and you're worried it's going to affect the amount of jobs you win, give us a shout. Let us know. Come talk to us. We offer a really affordable, really competitive service that really helps you get on top of your pricing and cash flow, and really helps you run that kind of financially sustainable business that you always thought you would be running. So if this is all a bit daunting, if it's getting a bit too much to keep on top of yourself, and the concept of adjusting your pricing and increasing your pricing is a little bit worrying, like I said, come and speak to us. This is something that we can absolutely help you with, and we can help you build that in a sustainable maintainable way. So we're back in tomorrow. We're going to be doing some more work with the calculator. We're going to be doing some more. We're going to be doing some more work with the income on a daily basis, and then we'll be looking. We're going to sort of rush through the next 3 days and start doing some major adjustments according to this. And hopefully by the end of this week, we're going to end up with a business that's running at these target rates. So we're really gonna stack it up over the next couple of days. We're perhaps going to be doing, say, a fake month at a time. So tomorrow will be a month and an adjustment. The next day will be a month and an adjustment. Then Friday will be the final adjustments. And hopefully we've got a business that's operating at the exact targets that it needs to be. And then we can show you what that looks like. Okay, so we're back again tomorrow. We'll do some more adjustments. We'll do some more income and we'll distribute it accordingly. And then at the end of it, we'll start paying out wages, and we'll tell you how to withdraw money for yourself. We'll tell you how to withdraw your own money to keep for yourself. And then hopefully from there, we'll work on adjusting some margins a little bit more to get to these perfect industry standards that we want to be aiming for. Okay, as always, if you've got any questions, let me know. We'll be back again tomorrow.